Java tips and tricks, HTTP request methods, safe, idempotent, cacheable, and the other things. Each HTTP method is used to indicate the desired action to be performed for a given resource. Each HTTP method implements a different semantic, but some common features are shared by a group of them. For example, a request method can be safe, idempotent, or cacheable. Methods are get, head, post, put, delete, connect, options, trace, and patch. Firstly, we will talk about them in a brief. The HTTP GET method requests a representation of the specified resource. Requests using GET should be only used to request data. It shouldn't have body and also shouldn't change the state of system. Please notice that sending body or payload in a GET request may cause some existing implementations to reject the requests. While not prohibited by the specification, the semantics are undefined. It's better to just avoid sending payloads in GET requests. The head method asks for a response identical to a GET request, but without the response body. It means you just get headers data of a GET request. The HTTP head request is used to check the availability, size, and the last modification date of a resource without downloading it, as indicated by content length and last modified headers. For example, you just need the content size of a file that is available in header, so without downloading whole file you can reach it. A response to a head method should not have a body. If it has one, that body must be ignored. Any representation headers that might describe the erroneous body are instead assumed to describe the response which a similar GET request would have received. The post method submits an entity to the specified resource, often causing a change in a state or side effects on the server. A post request is typically sent via an HTML form and results in a change on the server. The put method replaces all current representations of the target resource with the request payload. The difference between put and post is that put is idempotent. Calling it once or several times successively has the same effect, that is, no side effect, where successive identical posts may have additional effects, like passing an order several times. We will talk about idempotent in next few minutes. The delete method just deletes the specified resource. It's very simple. The connect method establishes a tunnel to the server identified by the target resource. For example, the connect method can be used to access websites that use SSL. The client asks an HTTP proxy server to tunnel the TCP connection to the desired destination. The server then proceeds to make the connection on behalf of the client. Once the connection has been established by the server, the proxy server continues to proxy the TCP stream to and from the client. The options method requests permitted communication options for a given URL or server. A client can specify a URL with this method or an asterisk, for example, *, to refer the entire server. The trace method performs a message lookback test along the path to the target resource, providing a useful debugging mechanism. The final recipient of the request should reflect the message received, excluding some fields described below, back to the client as the message body of a 200 response with a content type of message HTTP. The final recipient is either the origin server or the first server to receive a max forward value of 0 in the request. The patch request method applies partial modifications to a resource. Patch is somewhat analogous to the update concept found in CRUD. A patch request is considered a set of instructions on how to modify a resource. Contrast put, which is a complete representation of a resource. A patch is not necessarily idempotent, although it can be. Contrast this with put, which is always idempotent. The word idempotent means that any number of repeated identical requests will leave the resource in the same state. For example, if an auto-incrementing counter field is an integral part of the resource, then a put will naturally overwrite it, because it overwrites everything, but not necessarily for patch. Patch, like post, may have some effect on the other resources. To find out whether a server supports patch, a server can advertise its support by adding it to the list in the allow or access control allow methods response header. Another indication that patch is allowed is the presence of the accept patch header, which specifies the patch document formats accepted by the server. HTTP safe methods. An HTTP method is safe if it doesn't alter the state of the server. In other words, a method is safe if it is lead to a read-only operation. Several common HTTP methods are safe, for example, get, head, or options. All safe methods are also idempotent, but not all idempotent methods are safe. For example, put and delete are both idempotent but unsafe. Even if safe methods have a read-only semantic, server can alter their state. For example, they can log or keep statistics. What is important here is that by calling a safe method, the client doesn't request any server change itself, and therefore won't create an unnecessary load for the server. Browsers can call safe methods without fearing to cause any harm to the server. This allows them to perform activities like prefetching without risk. Safe methods don't need to serve static files only. A server can generate an answer to a safe method on the fly, as long as the generation script guarantees safety. It should not trigger external effects, like triggering an order in an e-commerce website. It is the responsibility of the application on the server to implement the safe semantic correctly. The web server itself, being Apache, Nginx, or other things, can't enforce it by itself. In particular, an application should not allow GET requests to alter its state. An HTTP method is idempotent if an identical request can be made once or several times in a row with the same effect while leaving the server in the same state. In other words, an idempotent method should not have any side effects, unless those side effects are also idempotent. Implemented correctly, the get, head, put and delete methods are idempotent, but not the post method. All safe methods are also idempotent, as we said before. To be idempotent, only the actual backend state of the server is considered. the status code returned by each request may differ. The first call of a delete will likely return a 200, while successive ones will likely return a 404. Another implication of delete being idempotent is that developers should not implement RESTful APIs with a delete last entry functionality using the delete method. Please note that the idempotence of a method is not guaranteed by the server, and some applications may incoherently break the idempotence constraint. A cacheable response is an HTTP response that can be cached, that is stored to be retrieved and used later, saving a new request to the server. Please be considered that not all HTTP responses can be cached. There are some constraints for an HTTP response to be cached. The method used in request is itself cacheable, that is either a get or a head method. A response to a post or patch request can also be cached if freshness is indicated and the content location header is set. Other methods like put or delete are not cacheable and their result cannot be cached. The status code of the response is known by the application caching, and it is considered cacheable. These status codes are cacheable: 200, 203, 204, 206, 300, 301, 404, 405, 410, 414, and 501. There are specific headers in the response like cache control that prevents caching. Some non-cacheable requests or responses to a specific URI may invalidate previously cached responses on the same URI. For example, a put to an HTML page will invalidate all cached GET or HEAD requests to the same URI. When both the methods of the request and the status of the response are cacheable, the response to the request can be cached. In this page, you can see all things we have talked in brief. If this video was useful, please subscribe to our channel.